Hong Kong, midnight. In a back room above a seafood restaurant, incense smoke curls toward the ceiling. Men stand in silence. No speeches, no throne, no king. Just a ritual older than the skyscrapers outside. There is no boss to arrest, no face to put on a wanted poster, no man whose death ends the organization. This is how the triads survive. For more than a century, East Asian crime groups have endured wars, revolutions, colonial collapses, and the rise of the modern surveillance state, not by dominating territory with violence, but by doing something far more dangerous. They made themselves replaceable. This is the story of how criminal organizations learned to survive without leaders, and why the triads remain one of the most resilient underground systems ever built. Triads didn't begin as criminal gangs. That assumption, so common today, misses what they were built to be in the first place. Their roots trace back to secret societies formed during the Qing dynasty, when parts of China were ruled by the Manchu elite. These early groups were not smugglers or traffickers. They were networks of resistance, rebels bound by a shared political goal: overthrow Manchu rule and restore Han Chinese authority. Profit wasn't the organizing principle, survival was. These societies were structured around loyalty rather than hierarchy. Membership wasn't transactional, it was sworn. Initiates took part in oath ceremonies invoking heaven, earth, and brotherhood, rituals meant to bind members morally, spiritually, and socially. Betrayal wasn't just disobedience, it was sacrilege. Leadership existed, but deliberately in a limited form. Authority was symbolic, ritualized, and intentionally weak. No single figure held absolute power. No boss could command the entire organization. Decisions were collective, roles were fluid, and identities were compartmentalized. This wasn't accidental design. It was a response to repression. Secret societies learned early that centralized leadership invited annihilation. If one leader was captured or killed, the group could collapse. So triads evolved differently. They built systems where knowledge was fragmented, loyalty was horizontal, and continuity didn't depend on any one person. From the beginning, triads were engineered to survive decapitation. That origin myth, brotherhood over empire, shaped everything that followed. Even as these groups later drifted into criminal activity, the underlying structure remained. They didn't expand like corporations or cartels. They multiplied like cells. Western criminal organizations tend to revolve around individuals. Power concentrates at the top. Names matter. Faces matter. Remove the leader, and the organization often fractures. Triads evolved in the opposite direction. They revolve around roles, not personalities. Instead of bosses, triads use numeric titles, codes that define function rather than authority. 489, the Dragonhead, serves as a ceremonial leader rather than an absolute ruler. 438, the Vanguard, handles frontline coordination. 426, the Enforcer, applies discipline. 415, the White Paper Fan, manages administration, finances, and mediation. These numbers aren't ranks in a traditional hierarchy, they're job description. That distinction is critical. A numeric title doesn't belong to a person, it belongs to a task. The individual filling the role is temporary by design. If someone is arrested, disappears, or is killed, the number doesn't vanish with them. Another member quietly steps into the function. The work continues. This is why decapitation strategies fail so often against triads. Arresting a dragonhead doesn't trigger chaos or retaliation. It triggers paperwork, meeting, reassignment. The organization doesn't mourn publicly because it doesn't depend emotionally or structurally on any single figure. Authority flows horizontally, not vertically. Respect is earned through service to the group, not personal dominance. Loyalty attaches to the brotherhood, not the leader. That makes infiltration harder and disruption slower. There's no throne to seize and no crown to knock off. The system looks archaic. Numbers, rituals, coded language, but it's functionally modern. It anticipates loss. It assumes compromise. It treats removal as routine rather than catastrophic. In triads, power isn't charismatic, it's procedural. Triads don't rule territory the way cartels or mafias do. There are no borders to defend, no capital cities to control, no single stronghold to conquer. Instead of building kingdoms, triads operate in cells, small, semi-independent groups linked by shared culture, ritual, and mutual benefit, rather than command and control. Each cell is designed to stand on its own. It funds itself. It recruits locally, drawing from the communities it already understands, and it chooses its own activities based on opportunity rather than instruction. There is no universal business plan handed down from above. Adaptation is the model. That's why triad activity looks different from place to place. One cell may focus on drug trafficking, another on gambling or loan sharking. Others move into counterfeiting, smuggling, or cybercrime. The menu is wide, and specialization is local. Cells shift focus as markets change, laws tighten, or technology opens new angles. What connects them isn't a chain of command, it's alignment. Shared rituals create trust, shared profit incentives create cooperation, and shared identity ensures disputes don't escalate into fragmentation. This structure creates a unique problem for law enforcement. There is no headquarters to raid, no leader whose arrest triggers collapse, no central command to dismantle. Taking down one cell doesn't expose the others. It barely even alerts them. So law enforcement isn't fighting an army. It's fighting a system without edges. Every investigation reveals a fragment rather than a map. Each arrest produces information that is local, outdated, or intentionally incomplete. Patterns emerge slowly, if at all. By the time authorities understand one cell's operation, another has already shifted tactics or dissolved and reformed under a different configuration. Cells are inefficient compared to empires, but they are resilient. They don't seek dominance, they seek continuity. Leadership attracts attention. Attention attracts surveillance. Triads learned this lesson early, and they learned it permanently. In systems built to survive pressure, visibility isn't power, it's exposure. And exposure is fatal. High-ranking figures in triads therefore behave very differently from the public bosses seen elsewhere. They avoid public exposure. They avoid flashy lifestyles. They avoid personal branding of any kind. No interviews, no myth-making, no visible symbols of dominance. The goal isn't admiration, it's obscurity. That's why there is no triad equivalent of Pablo Escobar. No figure whose identity becomes synonymous with the organization. No personality large enough to give law enforcement a single face to hunt. A famous leader would be a structural failure, not a success. Instead, power is expressed sideways, through favors rather than commands, through introductions rather than orders, through access rather than authority. Someone influential doesn't tell others what to do. They make things possible or impossible by opening or closing doors. This creates a system where influence matters more than rank. A person with no formal title can be more powerful than someone with a numeric role, depending on who they connect, what they facilitate, and how much trust they command. Authority becomes diffuse, hard to map, and difficult to prove. For law enforcement, this is deeply frustrating. There's no clear hierarchy to chart, no boss whose removal signals victory. Surveillance turns up interactions, not chains of command. Influence leaves no paper trail. Triads don't eliminate leaders, they eliminate the need for them. By treating leadership as a liability rather than an asset, they invert the logic of most criminal organizations. Visibility is sacrificed for longevity. Ego is traded for endurance. Triads don't hide in jungles or mountains. They don't need remote compounds or fortified enclaves. They hide in plain sight, inside businesses that look ordinary, regulated, and boring. Restaurants, construction firms, logistics companies, entertainment venues. These aren't just fronts in the crude sense, they're infrastructure. Legitimate businesses provide something far more valuable than secrecy, normality. They generate paperwork, routines, and plausible explanations for money, movement, and meetings. These businesses don't merely launder money after the fact, they absorb risk in real time. Cash flows blend with legitimate revenue. Employees double as couriers or lookouts without knowing it. Warehouses store both legal goods and illegal ones. A truck that delivers construction materials today can move contraband tomorrow, using the same routes, licenses, and schedules. When police investigate, they don't find command structures or criminal manifestos. They find invoices, permits, payroll records, tax filings. Everything looks compliant because much of it is. The illegal activity isn't separate, it's embedded. That embedding changes how enforcement works. Raiding a restaurant doesn't dismantle an organization. Auditing a logistics firm doesn't expose a hierarchy. At most, authorities uncover isolated violations, a tax issue here, a licensing problem there. Nothing that reveals the broader system. This is intentional. Crime is not announced, it's nested. Each business can survive scrutiny on its own. If one is shut down, others continue operating. Losses are localized. Exposure doesn't cascade. Unlike cartels that dominate territory or mafias that enforce obedience, triads prioritize invisibility. Their ideal operation attracts no attention because it looks indistinguishable from everyday commerce. Customers eat meals, contractors pour concrete, containers move through ports. In the early 20th century, Sun Yee-on grew into one of the largest and most durable triad networks in the world. Its scale was enormous. At its peak, it counted tens of thousands of members and operated far beyond a single city or country. Its presence stretched across Hong Kong, Macau, Southeast Asia, and deep into Europe and North America. And yet, for all that reach, Sun Yee-on never revolved around a single defining leader. There was no figure whose name became synonymous with the organization, no personality large enough to personify its power. That absence wasn't a weakness, it was the design. Over the decades, senior figures were arrested, imprisoned, or killed. In most criminal organizations, those moments trigger chaos, power struggles, splintering, collapse. With Sun Yee-on, operations continued with little visible disruption. Activities persisted, alliances held, profits flowed. From the outside, it often looked as if nothing had happened at all. Why? Because Sun Yee-on didn't function like a kingdom, it functioned like a franchise. Local groups operated under a shared identity and set of traditions, but with operational autonomy. Each cell managed its own affairs, adapted to its own environment, and absorbed its own risks. The brand endured even as individuals came and went. No central throne meant no succession crisis. No single command center meant no decisive blow. Leadership losses were treated as administrative problems, not existential threats. Roles were reassigned, relationships adjusted, business resumed. This is what longevity looks like in an environment of constant pressure. Sun Yee-on didn't aim for dominance through control, it aimed for survival through replication. The organization spread not by conquering territory, but by reproducing structure, again and again, wherever opportunity allowed. In the end, Sun Yee-on demonstrated something counterintuitive. Size doesn't require centralization, power doesn't require a face, and endurance doesn't come from holding everything together tightly, but from designing a system loose enough that nothing essential breaks when people disappear. In places like Macau, triads adapted once again, but this time the shift was subtle. Instead of street violence, public intimidation, or visible enforcement, they embedded themselves into systems that were already legal, lucrative, and highly regulated. Casino junket operation, VIP gambling room, debt enforcement tied to high-stakes play. This wasn't an accident. Macau's casino economy runs on credit, trust, and discretion. Junket operators recruit wealthy gamblers, extend them credit, move money across borders, and manage losses quietly. Those functions require networks that can enforce debts, resolve disputes, and guarantee compliance, often across jurisdictions where courts are slow or ineffective. That's where triads fit in. Violence didn't disappear because triads became gentler. It disappeared because it was inefficient. Public assaults, murders, and intimidation attract scrutiny, disrupt cash flow, and scare regulators. In an environment built on licenses and oversight, visibility is poison, so control evolved. Contracts replaced threats, arbitration replaced beatings, reputation replaced fear. A gambler who failed to pay didn't need to be harmed publicly. Access could be cut off, credit withdrawn. Doors quietly closed across multiple casinos and junket networks at once. The pressure was real, but it was invisible. This model worked because it aligned criminal incentives with legal stability. Casinos want high rollers, not scandals. Junkets want repeat customers, not police attention. Triads adjusted accordingly, embedding themselves into the mechanics of the system rather than standing outside it. For law enforcement, this created a paradox. Crime didn't look like crime. Disputes were settled privately. Money moved through licensed entities. Agreements existed on paper. When investigators looked, they saw contracts, not corpses. The Macau model revealed something crucial. Organized crime doesn't require chaos. It doesn't even require violence. It requires leverage. Triad ceremonies look archaic, but they serve a modern function. Ritual creates trust without documentation, identity without records, loyalty without payrolls. In a world of wiretaps and metadata, oral tradition is secure. You can seize a hard drive. You can't subpoena memory. Governments keep searching for the leader, but triads don't collapse when leaders fall. They shed weight. Arrests, remove risk-prone members, force cells to adapt, strengthen internal discipline. Crackdowns don't end triads, they train them. Modern triads are quieter than ever. They've moved into financial fraud, online scams, intellectual property theft, transnational cybercrime. No tattoos, no street wars, no identifiable heads, just distributed crime in a global economy that rewards invisibility. Triads endure because they understood something states and police often forget. Power doesn't need a face. Loyalty doesn't need a throne. Crime doesn't need a king. The most dangerous organizations aren't the ones led by men who demand loyalty. They're the ones designed so that no one matters enough to destroy them. The triads didn't survive by becoming stronger. They survived by becoming structure. And structures don't bleed when you cut off the head.